Well, good afternoon, students. I wanted to make sure that after taking a quiz, I find it very important for teachers to review any information that was gone over so they can have learning experiences and hopefully take that information with them onto the next test. So Mr. Zimmerman has passed back the test by now. If not, please ask him to do so. And we are going to start by just going through the quiz. I'm going to show you just some common mistakes, make some points, and I would like you guys to be making corrections on your quiz as you guys go. So first part is vocab. I find vocab super duper important. First, supplementary angle. You need to know that is two angles that add to 180. So that would be C. Complementary angles, two angles that add to 90. You need to know the difference between the two. That is an expectation that you guys have those words and understand how to use them. Linear pair. This one can get a little bit confusing, so I think it's best to draw a picture. First, two non-adjacent angles formed by intersecting lines. So let's see, there's two intersecting lines, and if they're not adjacent, let's think, what does the word adjacent mean? Well, the word adjacent is going to mean right next to. So if I'm talking about this angle, I'm not talking about either of these two, I am talking about this angle. Now with a picture, it might become a little more obvious that this is a pair of vertical angles, so that would mean B. Two angles that share a common vertex and side. So let's kind of draw a picture. So common vertex, so they have to have the common vertex, and they share a side, which is right here. Well, they're right next to each other. This is a straight linear line, because straight lines can be linear, which means that's going to be linear. So this is going to be D. So there's the vocab. Number 5, you got to know these words. Use them again. Supplementary. That means two angles that add to 180. So if I have 15, the other angle is going to be 165 because 165 plus 15 does equal 180. Two angles are complementary. If one angle is 55, well, what is the measure of the other angle? Complementary means adds to 90. So if I have 55 plus some number equals 90, well, that means that my mystery angle that's 5, this is 3, 35. Great. 1 and 2, if it's number 7, if the angles 1 and angle 2 are a linear pair, and angle 2 is 67. Well, we got to know linear pair. Linear pair means two angles that form a linear or straight line. Therefore, those two angles, angle 1 and angle 2, equals 180. So if angle 2 is 67, what is angle 1? Well, simple algebra can help us find that out. And angle 1 is going to equal 113. So as you can see, knowing the vocab word is going to be super important. Next semester, when we're going to be going full go with this, I expect these to be memorized. Thankfully, in your Cornell notes, you guys are going to be making really good notes about vocab, having a vocab on one side, definition on the other. So on your papers, this is my blank template on my board. Let me grab the equations. You guys had two angles here. This one was 140. This one was x plus 12. I don't want to next one. This was x and 119. So something that I've seen a lot of students need to work on is, for the most part, solving, you guys weren't too bad. Setting up the equation and knowing how to set it up and when to set it up. That is something I'm stressing. You got students in general need to work on looking at a picture, analyzing it, and making work from there. So for example, in 8A, these two angles are a linear pair. So they're supplementary. So these two put together will give us a total of 180 degrees. Some interesting ways to combine like terms. If they're on the same side, they're on the same angle, they're in the same room, you can just combine them. So you can do What would this be? 152 plus x equals 180. Subtract 152 from both sides. Equals 28. Why must we subtract from both sides? Well, this is an equal sign, so therefore whatever I do to one side, I got to do the other. Think of a scale in science class. If I add weight to this side, I must also add the same amount to this side, because if I don't, this side will become heavier than this side and is not equal. So therefore, you must do the same things to all sides. (8b), we do not have a linear pair. There is not a straight line, but we do have two angles across from each other, or vertical each other. So therefore, these two angles are equal. Nice, easy point to grab there. All you got to do is realize what you got. You got to analyze the picture and see, what do I do? They are vertical angles, therefore they are congruent or equal to each other. Let's look at this side. We got 12x, 2x plus 8, x minus 24. Same skill, we got to say, okay, well, I have a picture. All right, what do I have in C? Well, I have a right angle, which means they're complementary, which means together, x and 12 are going to have to equal 90. So we're going to solve, and x is going to equal 88? No, 78. Now in 8D, I tried to work in two problems of each, one a little easier, one a little more difficult. So since we already have the easy one for these two linear pairs, this one's a little more difficult. These two are linear pairs, which means 2x plus 8 and x minus 24 together give us 180. So we're going to have to combine like terms. If I have two x's and I add one more, I have 3 total. If I have $8 in my wallet and I owe someone 24, that means I am still short $16. On your paper, you could be putting combined like terms on the side. From there, just a two-step equation. First, always add or subtract move over what is being added or subtracted. I call it the naked number, the number without the variable. So we're going to add 16. We get 3x equals 196. Divide that by 3. We get x equals 65.33 repeating. That's okay. You can leave that as a decimal. Put it there. Please, whenever you have that, do not round it to a whole number. Just put at least 2 decimals. At least 2. That's always good practice. Let's look at these last two. What do I got on the quiz? We got x and 3x plus 18. We got 80 and 2x plus 10. Same skill. We got to look at the picture and say, what do I have? In this case, I see a right angle at the bottom left, which means that these two angles together add up to 90 degrees. So first thing we're going to do is we have two terms that are like on the same side. So we're going to combine those to get 4x plus 18 equals 90. Next we're going to subtract 18. Get 4x equals 72. Divide by 4. Why are we dividing here? Why can't it be multiplication? Why can't it be multiplication or subtraction? Well, it has to be division because this is multiplication right here. And we got to think, what undoes multiplication? Well, that's division. So our final answer is x equals 18. All right, with our last one, that same skill of saying what's on the page. In this case, I have two intersecting lines and I have angles to both that are vertical or across from each other. Therefore, these two angles are going to be equal to each other. So I'm going to set them equal to each other because because I know they're congruent, and then solve for my variable. First, move the number being added or subtracted. In this case, that's 10. We're subtracting because it's a positive 10. That cancels out, so we get 70 equals 2x. Since we're multiplying by 2 here, we're going to do the inverse and divide by 2, and we're going to end up with x equals 35.